Series 4 deatomizer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Noisy cricket.
Hey.
Train to the plastic underground. Approaching the station. Please stand away from the platform edge. Alright, you guys, so Men in Black came out 27 years ago on July 2nd. So, wanted to make something special to kind of coincide with that anniversary. So, I 3D printed this noisy cricket from Thingaverse. This is a pretty sweet little file. I printed this out a while ago, and it's kind of sat in a drawer, and yeah, it kind of got warped a little bit. So that's something I have not experienced before. I think because it's thin, after it kind of like cures, it kind of warps a little bit. And yeah, I've never had that happen before, but I've also never like printed something and left it for like a month or two. But yeah, it was a little weird when I went to like start this project. I was like, man, everything is like really bent, but you can fix it pretty good. So it's kind of some of the steps that I took to fix it. So obviously, first and foremost, start out by just using some super glue and just gluing all these pieces together. So really the only couple parts that need to be glued is the body and that back trigger piece there. You saw me glue together already. So the body is a little bit more important. I kind of line up all the major parts and hold that in place until it kind of tacks up. And then I go around and make sure that the trigger part and all that stuff is glued together. And then after all that stuff is dry, then I can put some pressure on this top part and really hold it in place. So another little trick is baking soda. So put some super glue in that seam and then add some baking soda on top of that. And it cures the super glue and makes kind of like this hard, like epoxy type of consistency, and then you can sand it later. So I did that for the top seam just to keep that seam looking good and also give it a little bit extra strength. You can also put the baking soda down first and then add super glue on top of it. And then the super glue soaks into the baking soda and creates a pretty hard bond. Yeah, so then I just wait for that to dry, and then I do a little bit of sanding on all the seams and that top part and make everything look pretty good. This is gonna get painted chrome, so I spent a lot of time sanding this, and I used a mixture of just some like 150 grit sandpaper and a little bit of dremeling on the seams just to kind of quickly sand everything down. But yeah, I did a lot of sanding to get this looking good. Then I go ahead and paint everything this gloss black. This is enamel black, so these handle grips will stay black, but everything gets the same gloss black so that the chrome paint will look good on top. yeah, so after that dries, looks pretty smooth. I can pop that front piece in just so that it gets painted the same. Probably should not have been touching this with my hands, but yeah, so I'm just using some of this Alclad Chrome. I bought this a long time ago. I used it on like one project. I didn't like the way it turned out. Come to find out, I had the pressure too high on my air gun. It's supposed to be like 15 or lower, or like, actually I think it's like 11. Yeah, it was definitely a lot higher than that. So this is like a lacquer, so the gloss black shines underneath it, and then this kind of just coats the top with like this really nice looking chrome. The problem with this stuff is that you need to seal it because it will rub off. And I sealed it with just some gloss spray, and that really dulls the chrome effect. So Alclad makes a gloss sealer for your airbrush, and I just don't have any. But that is what you want to use if you're using this stuff, because it seals it and it doesn't dull the shine. But this stuff dries pretty quick, so I was able to take that nozzle off and set it aside and let it dry a little bit more. So it looks really great right now. And I was really happy with it. So I just used a razor blade here just to kind of sand down, kind of scrape in some cuts through the paint so that the glue would actually stick to the body. Yeah, so there you go. That's all glued together, and then I'm just using some Coke, like soda bottle plastic, and just making like a little tube for the inside here. I sand the underside of this plastic to kind of deflect the light a little bit. And I got this little LED strip here. I wired up the blue, because this is a red, blue, green LED strip left over, so I just made sure I wired up just the blue ones. So I'm going to put that in on the bottom. I did a lot of work here trying to get this to fit on the inside, all the power parts and stuff. I thought with the nozzle I could get the wires to fit in there. The LED is purple because looks like the wire's touching the red, so it's like blue and red activated, and it looks purple. It looks pretty cool, honestly, but I'm just trying to see if I can fit everything together, and you kind of can. You kind of can, but it's just too tight to keep that nozzle part on. I didn't want to glue the nozzle on the front because I wanted to be able to get in there and change the battery and all that kind of stuff. So I messed with this for a little bit, and then I kind of realized like I needed to kind of relook at this stuff. So the other thing I did is I added this little piece of packing foam. This is just some of that like thin like open cell packing foam that comes in a lot of like stuff, like if you get glass shipped and stuff. That also helps diffuse the light really, really well. So then I came up with this idea for a display base. And this would allow me to have the power and switch and all that stuff in the base and just have the LEDs wired in the Noisy Cricket, which plenty of room for just the LEDs and the wire coming out of the back. So that is what I did. So I just used a chunk of this insulation foam board that I have. You can buy this in big sheets, or you can go to Lowe's and they usually will carry a hobby size sheet of this foam. So then these are some plastic tubes that I bought at like the hobby store. I think they're for like model building, model kit building, and that kind of stuff. So you can buy these in all different sizes. These are just the sizes I had on hand. So I used the pipe itself to kind of cut a little hole on the top and the side where the switch will be. Wanted to kind of run those together and kind of connect the two holes so I could run the wires through them. So I wrapped this piece of sandpaper around this pencil, and then I rub the tube against that sandpaper, and this shapes the plastic tube into this little curve so that the Noisy Cricket barrel part will rest on there pretty good. So yeah, just giving it a little test, making sure that it fits on there. And it sits on there freestand, so that's a good sign that it'll be pretty good on there. So the next thing I do is I cut a spot out for the switch. Make sure that the switch fits in there. Then I run all the wires through. Then I run the wires through that pipe. And then I ordered all these from Amazon. So these are just some button battery holders, and I ordered a 2-pack of button batteries. And I just go ahead and solder the battery pack. Yeah, so then the battery pack can get installed. I run the one wire to the switch, and the other wire gets ran up the pipe to the LED. Then I can wire the switch together, or solder the switch together. Then I solder the LEDs to the wires there. So now that everything is soldered together, I can run the wires back down the tube. Yeah, and then I just give it a quick test, make sure the switch works and everything is working good. So yeah, that is it for the wiring and everything. Last thing I do is just glue the battery into the base, just so it doesn't pop out. Yeah, and there you go. So the only thing left to do is peel off the tape. I taped these handles because after messing with this so long, trying to put the electronics in side, I kind of wore off a lot of the chrome paint, so I masked off the grips and then resprayed the whole gun again with that chrome, just to kind of make it look a little brighter. So yeah, then the only thing left to do is paint the base. So I paint the base and then I paint the tubes. And then everything looks pretty great. And then so the last thing I wanted to do was to give it a good name. So I just used some silver vinyl and cut out Noisy Cricket on my my vinyl cutter, and stuck that to the side of the base, and that just kind of totally finishes this build off. So yeah, so there you go. That is how I went about making the Noisy Cricket. All right, you guys. So that is it. That is how I made the Noisy Cricket from Men in Black. This is a free 3D file over on Thingaverse, so go grab it yourself and print your own. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way this thing turned out. It's really cool, nice little display for it to sit on, which also runs the power through. So that's nice because it's really hard to fit all the electronics in this thing. So yeah. It's got a nice little switch on the back, and it looks pretty cool up on the shelf. So, yeah, I'm gonna end up giving this to my father-in-law. He's a pretty big Men in Black fan, so this will be over on his desk somewhere. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you like seeing me make it. And yeah, stay tuned and make sure you subscribe, because I try to put out weekly videos. And yeah, I'll see you next week when we make something cool.